I never thought I would become my own sister, but desperation makes us do things we never imagined possible. The phone rang at 3 in the morning on a Tuesday night in September, cutting through the silence of my tiny studio apartment like a knife through paper. I had been sleeping deeply, dreaming about something I couldn't quite remember, when the shrill ringtone jolted me awake. I fumbled for it in the darkness, my hand knocking over the water glass I always kept on my nightstand. The water spilled across the wood, soaking the stack of psychology textbooks I had been reading before bed, but I barely noticed. My heart was already racing before I even saw her name illuminated on the screen. When I finally grabbed the phone with trembling fingers and saw Monica displayed there, my stomach dropped like a stone. My twin sister never called this late. We texted constantly throughout the day, we video chatted while cooking dinner in our respective kitchens, we saw each other at least twice a week for sister dinners or shopping trips, or just sitting on my couch watching terrible reality television and eating ice cream straight from the container. But she never, ever called at 3 in the morning. Nothing good ever happens at 3 in the morning. That's the hour when bad news arrives, when emergencies happen, when lives fall apart. Monica. Liv? Liv, are you there? Please tell me you're there. Her voice was shattered, broken into pieces I had never heard before, fragmented like glass that had been dropped on concrete. Monica, my identical twin, born exactly 12 minutes before me, the strong one, the responsible one, the sister who always had everything figured out while I stumbled through life trying to find my direction. She was the twin who got straight A's without ever seeming to study, who landed her dream job as a senior analyst at a prestigious accounting firm right out of college, who married the perfect guy after a fairy tale romance, and bought the perfect house in the perfect neighborhood and seemed to have the perfect life that everyone envied. She was the one who sent out Christmas cards with professional family photos, who hosted Thanksgiving dinner with homemade everything, who remembered everyone's birthdays and always knew exactly what gift to buy. Now she was sobbing so hard she could barely breathe, making sounds I didn't even recognize as human, sounds that seemed to come from somewhere deep and primal and broken. I sat up straight in bed, suddenly completely awake, my heart pounding, adrenaline flooding through my system like ice water. Liv. Mon, what happened? Talk to me. Are you okay? Is it Emma? Is she hurt? My mind was racing through possibilities, each one worse than the last. Had there been an accident? Was my niece sick? Had something happened to Jake? The silence on the other end of the line stretched for what felt like hours but was probably only seconds. Monica. It's Jake. Liv. I caught him. I caught him with someone. With another woman. In our house. In our bed. The world seemed to tilt on its axis, like the floor had suddenly become the wall, and I was falling sideways through space. Everything in my small apartment suddenly felt wrong, off-kilter, surreal. Like reality had shifted just slightly to the left, and nothing was where it was supposed to be anymore. Jake, her husband of 7 years, the man who had cried actual tears at their wedding when Monica walked down the aisle in that beautiful lace dress that had taken her 6 months to find. The man who had held her hand through 2 devastating miscarriages, who had cried with her in hospital rooms and told her they would keep trying, that they would have their family someday. The man who had been there when Emma was finally born healthy and perfect and screaming with strong lungs 3 years ago, who had cut the umbilical cord with shaking hands and looked at his wife like she had given him the entire universe. The same Jake who called me his second favorite person in the world, always with that stupid boyish grin that made us both laugh and roll our eyes. Jake, who had been part of our family for nearly a decade, who came to our mother's birthday dinners and our father's summer barbecues, who knew all our inside jokes and family stories and childhood memories, who could tell Monica and me apart even when we deliberately tried to confuse him. That Jake, I couldn't process it. My brain refused to make the words make sense, refused to connect the Jake I knew with the man Monica was describing. Monica. I came home early from book club. You know, the one I go to every Tuesday night at Linda's house? I forgot Emma's medication when I left. She has that ear infection, remember? The doctor said she needed to take the antibiotics with food before bed. I was so worried about her, Liv. I was thinking about her the whole time at book club, not even paying attention to what everyone was saying about the novel. So I left early, told the girls I wasn't feeling well, which wasn't even a lie because my stomach was in knots worrying about my baby. And I drove home thinking I would just grab the medicine, give it to Emma with a snack, and maybe get back to book club if it wasn't too late. But when I walked in the front door, the house was too quiet. Emma's door was closed, which was good. She was sleeping. But our bedroom door was closed too, and there was music playing. That song, Live, our wedding song. He was playing our wedding song. I could hear her voice breaking, could picture her face even though I couldn't see it, could feel her pain radiating through the phone like heat from a fire. Monica. I opened the door and they were in our bed, in the bed where we conceived Emma, in the bed where we've slept together for 7 years, where I've woken up next to him every morning, where we've made love and argued and made up and held each other through bad dreams, and he was with her, Liv, with our daughter sleeping just down the hall, innocent and trusting that her parents were there to protect her. He looked at me and his face just went white. She screamed and grabbed the sheet, and I just stood there for a minute, maybe 2 minutes, I don't know, just stood there looking at them, trying to understand what I was seeing, trying to make my brain accept that this was real, that this was happening. I could hear her hyperventilating through the phone, her breath coming in short gasps that scared me. I was already out of bed, grabbing jeans from the floor where I had tossed them the night before, pulling them on with one hand while keeping the phone pressed to my ear with the other. I shoved my feet into sneakers without bothering with socks, grabbed my keys from the hook by the door. Liv. Mon, slow down. Breathe with me, okay? In through your nose, out through your mouth. That's it. Good. Now tell me, where are you right now? Monica. I'm at Riverside Park. You know, the one with the big playground where we used to bring Emma to feed the ducks? I just grabbed her from her room. She didn't even wake up, thank God. I wrapped her in her blanket and I just left. I walked right past him. He was trying to follow me, trying to talk to me, and I just walked past him like he wasn't even there. Like he was already a ghost. I put Emma in her car seat and I drove here, and I've been sitting in the car for I don't know how long, maybe 20 minutes, maybe an hour. I can't tell. Time doesn't feel real anymore. Liv. Stay there. Don't move. I'm coming to get you right now. I'm walking to my car right now. I'll be there in 30 minutes, okay? Just stay on the phone with me. The drive to Monica's neighborhood felt endless. Like I was driving through molasses. Like time had slowed down just to torture me. I lived across town in a cheaper area, in a studio apartment above a laundromat that I could barely afford on my part-time salary from the bookstore and the occasional freelance graphic design work I picked up. Monica and Jake lived in one of those beautiful suburban neighborhoods with tree-lined streets and perfect lawns and houses that all looked like they belonged in magazines. I had always felt a little inadequate visiting their house, seeing everything so perfect and put together while my life felt like barely controlled chaos. Now that perfect picture had shattered, and I felt a surge of protective anger so strong it made my hands shake on the steering wheel. My hands gripped the wheel so tight my knuckles went white, and I had to consciously remind myself to loosen my grip, to breathe, to focus on driving safely, even though every instinct in my body was screaming at me to floor it, to get to my sister as fast as physically possible. I found her sitting on a bench near the duck pond, Emma asleep in her arms, wrapped in a pink fleece blanket covered in unicorns. Even in the dim streetlight, I could see how destroyed Monica looked. Her mascara had run in dark streams down her face, making her look like something from a horror movie. Her hands were shaking so badly I could see them trembling from several feet away. Her usually perfect hair was a mess, like she had been running her hands through it over and over. She was wearing the jeans and sweater she had worn to book club, but they looked wrong somehow, rumpled and askew, like she had forgotten how to be the put-together version of herself she had always been. I took Emma from her arms gently, carefully, feeling the warm weight of my 3-year-old niece against my chest. She stirred slightly but didn't wake, her little hand curling into my shirt, her breath soft and even against my neck. Then I wrapped my free arm around my sister and held her while she cried. We sat there for a long time, maybe 20 minutes, maybe an hour. Time felt slippery and strange. I didn't speak, didn't try to offer platitudes or comfort, just held her and let her break apart. Let her feel everything she needed to feel. Let her body shake with sobs that seemed to come from the very core of her being. The park was silent except for her crying, and the distant sound of traffic and the occasional rustle of leaves in the breeze. Above us, the stars were bright and indifferent, the moon a thin crescent that gave almost no light. The world kept turning, utterly uncaring that my sister's life had just imploded. Eventually, when her sobs had quieted to shaky breaths and occasional hiccups, we went to my apartment. I drove her car while she sat in the passenger seat, staring out the window at nothing. I kept glancing over at her, checking to make sure she was still breathing, still there, still existing. She looked like a ghost of herself, pale and hollow, like something essential had been carved out of her and she was just a shell going through the motions. I put Emma in my bed, still sound asleep, tucking the unicorn blanket around her small body, moving a strand of dark hair away from her face. She looked so peaceful, so innocent, completely unaware that her world had changed forever tonight. I hoped she would stay asleep, that she wouldn't have to see her mother like this, broken and bleeding from wounds that didn't show on the outside. I made tea that neither of us would drink, chamomile with honey, going through the familiar motions because I needed something to do with my hands, needed some way to feel useful even though I knew there was nothing I could do to fix this. Monica sat at my small kitchen table, the one I had bought at a thrift store for $30, so different from the beautiful farmhouse table in her dining room that sat 8 people comfortably. She was staring at nothing, her eyes focused on some point in the middle distance that only she could see, and finally, she started talking. The words came slowly at first, then faster, like a dam had broken and everything was flooding out at once. Monica. Her name is Rebecca Chen. She works with him at the firm. She's a junior associate, 26 years old, fresh out of law school. I've met her, Liv, multiple times. At the company Christmas party last year where she told me my dress was beautiful and asked where I got it. At the summer barbecue at the senior partner's house where she played with Emma and told me what a beautiful daughter I had. She shook my hand and looked me right in the eye and told me how lucky Jake was to have me, what a perfect family we were. And the whole time she was saying these things, she was sleeping with my husband. She was lying to my face and smiling while she did it. She laughed, but it was a bitter, hollow sound that made my stomach hurt, a sound that had nothing to do with actual humor or joy. It was the laugh of someone whose entire reality had been revealed as a lie. Monica. He tried to explain, Liv. Can you believe that? He actually followed me down the stairs trying to explain, trying to make me understand, talking at me while I was picking up our daughter and wrapping her in a blanket. He said it meant nothing. Those were his exact words. It meant nothing. That it was just physical, just stress relief, just something that happened. That he loves me. He kept saying he loves me over and over like that would make it okay. Like those 3 words could erase what he had done. How can you love someone and do that to them? How can you love someone and betray them in the most fundamental way possible? How can you love someone and bring another woman into your bed while your daughter is sleeping down the hall? I had no answer. I held her hand across the table, my hand wrapped around hers, and let her talk until the sun started to come up, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange that seemed obscenely beautiful, given the ugliness of the night we had just survived. Over the next few days, Monica stayed with me in my tiny studio apartment. It was cramped and uncomfortable, the 3 of us sharing a space that was barely big enough for one person. Emma slept in my bed with Monica, and I slept on the couch, waking up with a sore back and stiff neck every morning. But I didn't care. My sister needed me, and space was the least of our concerns. Monica called in sick to her job at the accounting firm where she was a senior analyst, where she had worked her way up from entry level over the past 8 years, where she had a reputation for being brilliant and reliable and unflappable. Now she couldn't even think about spreadsheets or quarterly reports or tax codes. She couldn't think about anything except Jake and Rebecca and the destruction of everything she had built her life around. Jake called and texted constantly. The first day he called 43 times. I counted. Each time her phone rang, Monica would flinch like she had been physically struck, her whole body jerking with the sound. She wouldn't answer. She couldn't. Every time she looked at her phone and saw his name, saw his photo, that picture of him holding Emma at the beach last summer, both of them laughing, looking like the perfect father and daughter, she would start shaking. Her breath would catch, her eyes would fill with tears. She was trying so hard not to cry. After the first day, I took her phone away from her, told her I would screen her calls and only tell her if it was something actually important. There were texts too, hundreds of them, each one more desperate than the last. Jake. Please answer. I need to talk to you. I need to explain. Jake. Monica, I'm so sorry. I'm so fucking sorry. Please give me a chance to make this right. Jake. I love you. I love Emma. You're my whole world. Please don't throw away everything we have. Jake. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'm begging you to talk to me. I read them all, feeling my anger grow with each message. How dare he? How dare he beg for forgiveness when he had deliberately, repeatedly made the choice to betray her? How dare he talk about love when his actions had been the opposite of love? I watched my sister, always so composed and put together and in control, fall apart completely. She stopped eating, could barely manage a few bites of toast in the morning before pushing it away. She lost weight she couldn't afford to lose, her already slender frame becoming almost skeletal. She barely slept despite her obvious exhaustion, lying awake for hours staring at the ceiling, or falling asleep only to wake up crying from nightmares. When she did sleep, she would wake up suddenly, sometimes crying out, sometimes just breathing hard like she had been running. She would just sit and stare out the window at the parking lot below, watching people go about their normal lives, going to work, coming home, living their ordinary days while her world had ended. She would cry suddenly for no reason, or at least no reason I could see. A commercial on TV, a song on the radio, the sight of a family walking down the street, anything could trigger it. She would just start sobbing, and I would hold her and let her cry and wish desperately that I could take this pain away from her. Emma kept asking for her daddy, her little voice confused and sad, not understanding why everything had changed so suddenly. Where's Daddy? When are we going home? I want to see Daddy. Each question was a knife in Monica's heart, and I could see her die a little more inside every time her daughter asked. She tried to explain in words a 3-year-old could understand, kneeling down to Emma's level, holding her small hands, speaking gently even though I could see how much effort it took. Monica, Mommy and Daddy are having some grown-up problems right now, sweetheart. So we're going to stay with Auntie Liv for a little while. But Daddy loves you so much, and you'll get to see him soon. But Emma was 3. She didn't understand grown-up problems. She just knew her world had changed, and she wanted it to go back to normal. She cried for her toys, for her room, for her routine. She cried for her daddy. And Monica held her and tried to comfort her while her own heart was breaking. On the 4th day, Monica made a decision. She needed to go back to the house, needed to get some of their things, needed to start figuring out the practical aspects of what came next. She needed clothes for herself and Emma, needed Emma's favorite stuffed animals and books, needed to gather important documents, needed to face the reality that her marriage was over and she had to start building a new life. But when the time came to actually do it, she couldn't. We got as far as my car in the parking lot. I had the keys in my hand, Monica was in the passenger seat, and then she just froze. Her breathing started coming faster and faster, shallow and rapid, her chest heaving like she couldn't get enough air. Her hands were shaking uncontrollably. She was hyperventilating so badly I thought she might pass out, her face going pale, her eyes wide and unfocused. Liv. Monica, look at me. You're okay. You're safe. Just breathe with me. But she couldn't. She was having a full-blown panic attack right there in the passenger seat of my car, gasping for air like a fish on dry land, her whole body shaking. I grabbed a paper bag from the back seat, held it to her mouth, talked her through breathing in and out slowly until her breathing started to even out, until the color came back to her face, until she stopped shaking quite so badly. It took 20 minutes before she could speak again. Monica, I can't do it. I need to. I know I need to, but I physically cannot make myself go there. I can't see that house. I can't see our bedroom. I can't see him. Liv, what's wrong with me? Why can't I just do this? Liv, nothing's wrong with you. You've been through a trauma. Your body is trying to protect you. It's okay that you're not ready. Monica, but I need to be ready. I need to be strong for Emma. I need to figure out what happens next. I need to get our things. I need to look him in the eye and understand how he could do this to us. But I can't. I just can't make myself do it. That's when the idea hit me. It was crazy, completely insane, the kind of idea that would never have occurred to me under normal circumstances. But looking at my sister's anguished face, seeing how desperately she needed someone to be strong for her when she couldn't be strong herself, I knew I would do it. I would do anything for her. Liv, then I'll go for you. Monica. What? What do you mean? Liv, we're identical twins, Mon. We have the same face, the same voice, the same mannerisms. Even our own mother couldn't tell us apart until we were 5 years old and you got that scar on your knee from falling off your bike. I'll go as you. I'll go to the house. I'll get your things. I'll face him. I'll do what you can't do right now." She stared at me like I had lost my mind, her eyes wide with shock and disbelief. Maybe I had. Maybe this was the worst idea I had ever had. But I meant it. I would become my sister if that was what she needed. Monica. Liv, that's insane. You can't just pretend to be me. This isn't some game we're playing like when we were kids. Liv. Why not? We've done it before. Remember in high school when you were sick with the flu the day before the big chemistry test? I went to school as you, took the test, got you an A. Remember when I got grounded and you snuck out to a party pretending to be me so mom and dad wouldn't know? We've been swapping places our whole lives when we needed to. Why is this different? Monica. Because it's not a test, Liv. It's not a party. It's my life. It's my marriage that's ending. It's my husband who betrayed me. Liv. Exactly. And because it's all of those things, you can't face it right now. So let me face it for you. You said you need to look him in the eye. You need answers. You need to understand. Let me get those things for you. Let me be strong when you can't be. We argued about it for hours, sitting in that parking lot, the engine turned off, just talking and debating and going in circles. Monica said it was too much to ask. I said she wasn't asking, I was offering. She said it wouldn't work, that Jake would know somehow, that he would see through it. I said he wouldn't, that we had fooled everyone our entire lives when we wanted to. She said I shouldn't have to do this, that it was her problem to solve. I said that her problems were my problems, that that's what being sisters meant, that she would do the same for me if our positions were reversed. Back and forth we went until finally, she agreed. She was too exhausted to argue anymore, too broken to keep resisting. She needed help, and she was desperate enough to accept it, even if it came in the most bizarre form imaginable. But we didn't just jump into it. We planned it carefully, methodically, like we were planning a heist or a military operation. Jake worked at a prestigious downtown law firm as a corporate attorney, one of those places with marble floors and original art on the walls and partners whose names carried weight in the city. Monica knew his schedule by heart after 7 years of marriage, knew his routines and habits better than he probably knew them himself. Every Friday, without fail, he had lunch at the same restaurant near his office. It was a habit that went back to his first year at the firm, a ritual lunch at Brennan's Steakhouse at noon exactly. He met with colleagues sometimes, clients other times, but even when he ate alone, he went to Brennan's. It was predictable. It was perfect. The night before, Monica and I went through everything. She gave me a crash course in being her, teaching me things I should have known after 29 years of being her twin, but somehow didn't. She taught me how she walked, with her shoulders a little more back than mine, her chin slightly higher. She showed me how she gestured when she talked, using her hands more than I did, more emphatic and expressive. She coached me on how she spoke, her cadence and rhythm, the words she used and the ones she avoided. We practiced conversations, role-playing different scenarios of what Jake might say and how Monica would respond. We went through their relationship history, important dates and inside jokes and private moments that only Monica would know. She told me about fights they had had, about how they made up, about the little details of their marriage that you only know when you've lived with someone for years. She cried through a lot of it, and I cried with her, both of us mourning the life she had thought she had, the marriage she had believed in. The next morning I became my sister. It was strange and unsettling, transforming into Monica, putting on her identity like a costume. We stood in my small bathroom together, looking at each other in the mirror, seeing our identical faces side by side like we had countless times growing up. She did my hair the way she always wore hers, straightening it carefully, and then creating soft waves with the curling iron, the kind of waves that looked effortless but actually took skill and practice to achieve. She spent 20 minutes on it, making sure every piece fell exactly right, curled under at just the right angle. She gave me her clothes, a gray cashmere sweater that felt expensive and soft, dark jeans that fit perfectly because of course they did. We wore the same size everything. She gave me her jewelry, her wedding ring that suddenly felt heavy and significant on my finger, her pearl earrings that her mother had given her on her wedding day, her delicate gold necklace with Emma's birthstone. She even gave me her perfume. that light floral scent she had worn for years, the one that was distinctly Monica. I sprayed it on my wrists and neck, and suddenly I smelled like her, like my sister. I practiced her mannerisms in the mirror, tilting my head the way she did when she was thinking, the slight narrowing of her eyes when she was concentrating, tucking my hair behind my ear when I was nervous in that specific way she always did. Monica watched me, correcting small details, adjusting the angle of my head, the position of my hands. It was like learning choreography for a play where the stakes were impossibly high and there were no second chances. We spent 3 hours transforming me into her, and by the end, looking in the mirror was disorienting. I saw Monica looking back at me, but I knew it was me underneath. It felt wrong and right at the same time, like wearing someone else's skin, like stepping into a life that wasn't mine, but could have been in a parallel universe where different choices had been made. Liv, I don't know if I can do this, Mon. What if he realizes I'm not you? What if I say something wrong? What if I make everything worse? Monica, you can do this. You're the bravest person I know, Liv. You always have been. I wanted to laugh at that because it wasn't true, had never been true. Monica was the brave one. She was the one who moved to a new city for her career right after college when I was too scared to leave our hometown. She was the one who pushed through 2 devastating losses, 2 miscarriages that would have broken me, to try for a baby again. She was the one who built a life she thought was perfect, who took risks and made bold choices and never seemed to doubt herself. I was just the little sister, born 12 minutes after her, always following in her footsteps, always trying to figure out who I was in the shadow of who she was. But now she needed me to lead, and I would do it even though I was terrified. I drove downtown in Monica's car, a sleek silver sedan that was much nicer than my beat-up hatchback that barely passed inspection each year. I used her GPS history to navigate to the restaurant, following the same route she had driven countless times when she met Jake for lunch in better times. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat, could hear it in my ears, a steady drumbeat of anxiety and fear. What was I doing? This was insane. This was beyond insane. But then I thought about Monica's face when she tried to go to the house. The way she had gasped for air like she was drowning. The way her whole body had shaken with panic. And I knew I had to do this. I had to be brave enough for both of us. The restaurant was one of those upscale places with cloth napkins that felt thick and expensive, leather booths that were probably older than I was, dim lighting that was supposed to be romantic or sophisticated, and a menu where nothing cost less than $30 and some entrees were closer to $70. It was the kind of place that intimidated me, that made me feel like I didn't belong, that reminded me I was working part-time at a bookstore while trying to figure out my life. But Monica belonged here. Monica fit in places like this. So I straightened my shoulders, lifted my chin the way she would, and walked in like I owned the place. I spotted Jake immediately. He was sitting at a table by the window, the same table he always sat at according to Monica, looking at his phone with a blank expression. He looked terrible, worse than I had ever seen him. His usually neat hair, always perfectly styled with just the right amount of product, was disheveled, like he had been running his hands through it all morning. There were dark circles under his eyes that makeup couldn't hide, the kind that come from days of not sleeping properly. His tie was loose around his neck, his collar unbuttoned, his usually immaculate appearance showing cracks. He had the look of a man who was barely holding himself together, and part of me felt a savage satisfaction at seeing him suffer. Good. He should suffer after what he had done. I walked up to his table with measured steps, channeling Monica's confidence, her poise, the way she moved through the world like she belonged everywhere she went. When he looked up and saw me, when his eyes focused on my face, all the color drained from his features in an instant. He went completely white, like he had seen a ghost, like he couldn't believe I was actually there in front of him. Jake. Monica. Oh God, Monica, you came. I didn't think you would come. He stood up so fast he nearly knocked his chair over, his movements jerky and uncoordinated, desperate. He reached for me with both hands, reaching for my arms like he was going to pull me into a hug or hold me, or maybe just confirm that I was real. I stepped back smoothly, putting distance between us, and I saw the hurt flash across his face. Good. Liv. Sit down, Jake. My voice came out cold, harder than I expected, sharper than I intended. But maybe that was what Monica needed me to be. Maybe she needed someone to be angry on her behalf since she was too broken to be angry herself. He sat heavily, like his legs had given out, and I sat across from him, the table between us like a barrier, like a demilitarized zone. I studied the man my sister loved, had loved, the man she had built her life around for nearly a decade. He looked smaller somehow, diminished, like betrayal had shrunk him. Jake. I've been calling you every day, every hour. Texting. Monica, please, we need to talk about this. We need to figure this out. We can't just throw away 7 years of marriage without at least talking. Liv. Talk then. I'm listening. I'm here. Say what you need to say. He looked at me with such desperate hope it made me feel physically sick, like I might throw up right there in this expensive restaurant with its white tablecloths and its pianist playing soft jazz in the corner. His eyes were red-rimmed, his hands were shaking where they rested on the table. Jake. It was a mistake, the biggest mistake of my life. Monica, I need you to understand that. It meant nothing, absolutely nothing. It was just, I don't know what it was. We worked late on the Morrison case. We were both stressed. We had been drinking wine while going over documents. It's not an excuse. I know it's not an excuse. There is no excuse for what I did. But that's what happened. That's how it started. Liv. How long? Jake. What? I leaned forward slightly, channeling every ounce of Monica's pain and anger and betrayal into my voice, into my eyes. Liv. How long has it been going on, Jake? Don't lie to me. I deserve the truth. After 7 years of marriage, after everything we've been through together, I deserve at least that much. How long? He looked down at his hands, and I saw shame wash over his face like a physical wave. Saw him actually flinch from the question, saw his shoulders sag under the weight of what he was about to admit. Jake. 4 months. It happened 4 times over 4 months. The first time was in March, after the Morrison case. Then twice in April. And then when you found us. Monica, I swear on everything I hold sacred, I was going to end it. I was trying to figure out how to end it without hurting anyone, without causing problems at work, without making things messy. I was trying to find the right time, the right words. 4 months, 4 times. While Monica was at home taking care of their daughter, cooking his dinner, doing his laundry, sleeping next to him every night, trusting him completely, believing in their marriage, believing in their vows, he was with someone else. While Monica was living her life thinking everything was fine, thinking they were happy, thinking they were building a future together, he was systematically betraying her. I felt rage building in my chest, hot and fierce and almost overwhelming, a physical sensation like fire spreading through my veins. Liv. Without hurting anyone? Jake, you destroyed her. You destroyed your wife. You destroyed your family. You destroyed everything you built together. Do you have any idea what you've done? Do you understand the magnitude of what you've taken from her? Jake. I know. God, I know. I hate myself for it. I look in the mirror and I don't recognize the person looking back at me. Monica, please. I love you. I love Emma. You're my whole world. You've been my whole world since the day I met you in that coffee shop 9 years ago when you spilled your latte on my laptop and apologized for 10 minutes straight. You and Emma are everything to me. I will do anything to fix this. Anything. I'll go to counseling. I'll quit my job. I'll move to a different city. I'll do whatever you need me to do. Liv. Some things can't be fixed, Jake. Some things once broken can never be put back together the same way. You can't unring a bell. You can't take back what you did. Jake. Don't say that. Please don't say that. Don't give up on us. We have 7 years of history. We have a daughter together. We have a life. That has to mean something. That has to count for something. He reached across the table and grabbed my hand, his grip tight and desperate, almost painful. I wanted to pull away, wanted to scream at him, wanted to tell him I wasn't Monica and he didn't deserve to touch either of us, didn't deserve to breathe the same air as my sister. But I stayed in character, let him hold my hand, needed to get everything Monica needed to hear, needed to understand his excuses and justifications so she could process them later in safety. Livy, did you ever think about me, Jake? When you were with her, did you think about what this would do to your wife? Did you think about Emma? About your daughter sleeping down the hall while you betrayed her mother in her mother's bed? Did you think about our wedding vows? About the promises you made in front of everyone we love? Tears were running down his face now, actually streaming down his cheeks, and he didn't even try to wipe them away. He just let them fall. Let me see him cry. Let me see his pain that was so much less than the pain he had caused. Jake, every time, every single time I thought about you. I thought about stopping. I thought about ending it. I thought about how wrong it was. But I didn't stop. I don't know why. I was weak and selfish and stupid. I was so fucking weak. I let myself believe that what you didn't know wouldn't hurt you. I let myself believe I could keep it separate. Keep it in a box. Keep it from touching our real life. I was an idiot. I was a coward. Liv. Yes, you were. We sat there in silence for a long moment, the sounds of the restaurant continuing around us like nothing had happened, like someone's world hadn't just ended. Around us, people laughed and talked, clinked their glasses together, lived their normal lives, unaware that at this table by the window, a marriage was dying. The pianist was playing something soft and melancholy, something I didn't recognize, but that fit the moment perfectly. Jake. What can I do, Monica? Tell me what to do to fix this. I'll do anything. I'll spend the rest of my life making this up to you if you'll let me. Liv. I don't know if there's anything you can do. I don't know if sorry is enough. I don't know if anything is enough. Jake. There has to be something. We've been together for 9 years. Since we were 20 years old. We've built a whole life together. We bought our first apartment together. We adopted that stupid cat you loved so much that died last year. We went through 2 miscarriages that almost destroyed us but didn't because we had each other. We have Emma. We have a daughter together. We have family dinners and vacation photos and 1,000 memories. That has to mean something. That can't all just disappear. Liv. It did mean something, past tense, until you threw it away. Until you decided that whatever you felt for Rebecca was more important than your marriage, your family, your vows. I stood up to leave, needing to get out of there before I broke character, before the rage overwhelmed me, before I said something that would give me away. But he grabbed my wrist, his hand circling it completely, holding on like I was a life preserver and he was drowning. Jake. Monica, wait, please. Don't walk away from me. Don't walk away from us. Don't give up on 7 years of marriage without fighting for it. We're worth fighting for. I looked down at his hand on my wrist, at the wedding ring he still wore, a simple gold band that matched the one on my finger that was really Monica's, and something inside me snapped. All the rage I had been holding back, all the pain I had been carrying for my sister, all the anger at seeing her so destroyed came flooding out. Liv. You walked away the first time you touched her. You gave up on us every time you lied. Every time you came home and kissed me hello after being with her. Every time you got into our bed after leaving hers. Every time you said you loved me while keeping this secret. You gave up on us 4 months ago. You just didn't tell me. You don't get to ask me to fight for something you already destroyed. You don't get to pretend you care about our marriage now when you didn't care about it when you were making the choice to betray it over and over again. I pulled my hand free from his grip and walked out of the restaurant, my head high, my steps quick but controlled. I made it to the car before I started shaking uncontrollably, my whole body trembling like I had been electrocuted. I sat in the driver's seat, gripping the steering wheel with both hands, trying to breathe, trying to process what had just happened, trying to come back to myself after being someone else for the past 30 minutes. My phone rang almost immediately. It was Monica. Monica. How did it go? What did he say? Did you get the answers I needed? I told her everything. Every single word, every excuse, every tear, every moment of that horrible conversation. She listened in complete silence, not interrupting once, just breathing on the other end of the line. When I finished, she was quiet for so long I thought maybe the call had dropped. Monica. 4 months, 4 times, with someone I knew, someone I smiled at and talked to and trusted. Liv. I'm so sorry, Mon. I'm so sorry you had to hear that. I'm sorry I couldn't make it hurt less. Monica. Don't apologize. You did exactly what I needed you to do. You got me the truth. You got me the answers. I couldn't have done that. I would have broken down. I would have cried. I would have believed whatever he told me because I'm so desperate to believe this isn't real, that this is all a nightmare I'm going to wake up from. But you were strong. You were what I needed. Liv. What do you want to do now? Monica. I don't know yet, but thank you. Thank you for doing that. I don't think I could have. Liv. You would have. Eventually. You're stronger than you think you are. Monica. I don't feel strong. I feel broken into so many pieces I don't know how to put myself back together. Liv. Then I'll help you. I'll be strong enough for both of us until you're ready to be strong again. I drove back to my apartment, my hands still shaking on the wheel, my heart still racing, adrenaline still flooding my system even though the confrontation was over. Monica was waiting when I got back, Emma playing with blocks on the floor, thankfully oblivious to everything that was happening. Monica and I talked late into the night, long after Emma had fallen asleep. Monica cried, and then she got angry, really angry, throwing things and shouting and letting out all the rage she had been holding inside. Then she cried again, softer this time, mourning the life she thought she had, the marriage she had believed in, the future she had planned that would never happen now. But somewhere in the middle of all that pain and anger and grief, I saw something else emerge in her. Something harder, something fiercer. Determination, resolve. The steel core that had always been inside her, but had been hidden under the softness of trust and love. Monica. I'm not going back to him. Liv. Are you sure? You don't have to decide right now. You can take time to think about it. Monica. I'm sure. I don't care what he promises or how much he begs or how many flowers he sends or how many times he calls. I can't trust him again. I'll never be able to trust him again. Every time he's late from work, I'll wonder if he's with someone. Every time he goes to a conference, I'll wonder if she's there. Every time he touches me, I'll think about him touching her. That's not a marriage. That's a prison. And I won't live like that. And I won't teach my daughter that it's okay to stay with someone who treats you like that it's okay to accept betrayal and lies and broken promises. I felt proud of her in that moment, so incredibly proud. My sister, who had been so shattered just days ago that she couldn't even say his name without her voice breaking, was finding her strength. She was making the hardest decision of her life, choosing the unknown and the difficult over the comfortable and the familiar because she knew it was right. But pretending to be Monica that day had changed something in me too. I had felt her pain as if it were my own, carried her burden, faced her demon, spoken words she couldn't speak. And in doing so, I had discovered something about myself that I hadn't known before. I had always thought of Monica as the strong one, the successful one, the one who had it all figured out while I drifted through life without direction or purpose. I was just Liv, the free spirit who couldn't commit to anything, who bounced between jobs and hobbies and half-formed plans, who never quite found her path, who lived in her sister's shadow without even realizing I was doing it. But that day, sitting across from Jake, I had been strong. I had done something absolutely terrifying because someone I loved needed me to. I had stepped into an impossible situation and handled it with more grace and strength than I thought I possessed. And it made me wonder what else I was capable of if I just had the courage to try. If I just stopped hiding behind excuses and self-doubt and fear of failure. The next few weeks were brutal in their own way, a different kind of hard than that first terrible night. Monica hired a divorce attorney, a fierce woman named Patricia Chen who had built her career on protecting wronged spouses and had a reputation for being brilliant and merciless in negotiation. Patricia's office walls were covered with degrees from prestigious law schools and photos of her with powerful people, but she was kind to Monica, patient with her tears and her questions and her fears about what came next. Patricia. He cheated. He brought another woman into your marital home. He exposed you to potential health risks. He violated your trust in the most fundamental way. The law is on your side. The court will be sympathetic, but you need to be clear about what you want. Do you want the house? Full custody? What are your priorities? Monica. I want my daughter to be okay. That's all I care about. I want Emma to have both her parents in her life because she shouldn't suffer because of what he did. But I want to make sure I can provide for her, that we're stable, that she feels safe. Jake tried everything humanly possible to change Monica's mind over those weeks. He sent flowers every single day, huge, expensive arrangements that arrived at my apartment with cards attached begging for forgiveness, for another chance, for the opportunity to prove himself. Monica threw them all away without even reading the cards. He wrote letters, pages and pages of handwritten explanations and apologies and promises, pouring his heart out onto paper in desperate attempts to reach her. She burned them in my kitchen sink, watching the paper curl and blacken, watching his words turn to ash. He showed up at my apartment multiple times, begging to talk, banging on the door until my neighbors complained. Monica refused to see him. She communicated only through Patricia Chen, all business, all legal documents and custody arrangements and asset division. She refused to engage with him emotionally anymore. She had built a wall around herself, and he couldn't get through. Emma kept asking for her daddy in that heartbreaking way that only toddlers can. Her little voice confused and sad and not understanding why everything had changed so suddenly. Why can't we go home? Where's Daddy? Why doesn't Daddy come here? Each question was a knife in Monica's heart, and I watched her die a little more inside every time her daughter asked, saw her struggle to keep her face calm and her voice steady even though I knew she was screaming inside. Emma. Mommy, is Daddy mad at me? Is that why we can't see him? Monica. No, baby. No. Daddy is not mad at you. Daddy loves you so much. You are the best thing in his whole world. This has nothing to do with you. This is because of something Daddy and Mommy need to figure out. But it's not because of you. It will never be because of you. But Emma was 3. She didn't understand adult problems or broken marriages or betrayal. She just knew her world had changed and she didn't like it. She wanted her daddy. She wanted her house. She wanted her room and her toys and her routine. She cried at night, calling for her father, and Monica would hold her and rock her and sing to her and try to comfort her while her own heart was breaking into smaller and smaller pieces. I watched Monica navigate this impossible situation with a grace I didn't know she possessed, a strength that seemed to grow stronger every day instead of weaker. She went back to work after 2 weeks, putting on professional clothes and makeup and the mask of competence she had worn for years. She arranged custody schedules with Jake through their lawyers, setting up a structured plan for Emma to spend time with her father. She found a new apartment, a 2-bedroom place in a good neighborhood with a park nearby and good schools, not as nice as the house she had shared with Jake, but comfortable and safe. She stopped crying every day. The breakdowns became less frequent, the panic attacks less severe. She started smiling again, small smiles at first, hesitant and brief, like she wasn't sure if she was allowed to be happy, but real ones that reached her eyes. And I realized something important watching my sister put herself back together piece by piece. Monica had always been strong. She didn't need me to be strong for her. She was capable of incredible strength all on her own. But she did need me to stand beside her, to remind her that she wasn't alone, to be there when the strength faltered, to believe in her when she couldn't believe in herself. She needed me to hold her hand while she did the hard work of healing, not to do it for her, but to witness it, to support it, to celebrate each small victory along the way. As for me, something fundamental had shifted inside. Pretending to be Monica for that one lunch, sitting across from Jake and carrying my sister's pain and anger and betrayal, had shown me that I was capable of more than I thought. I had been drifting through life for years, afraid to commit to anything, because I was scared of failing, scared of not being good enough, scared of trying and falling short. I had dropped out of college in my junior year to travel Europe, telling myself I would finish my degree later. Later had become never. I had bounced between jobs, never staying anywhere long enough to build a real career. I had dated, but never seriously, never letting anyone close enough to really matter. I had told myself I was free-spirited, adventurous, keeping my options open. But really, I was just scared. Scared of choosing and getting it wrong, scared of committing and failing, scared of being less than Monica, of trying to match her success and coming up short. But facing Jake, carrying my sister's pain, becoming her when she couldn't be herself, had shown me that I was braver than I believed. It had shown me that I could do hard things when hard things needed to be done. It had shown me that I had my own kind of strength, different from Monica's, but just as real, just as valuable. I decided to go back to school. The decision came to me one night while I was lying on my couch, unable to sleep, thinking about everything that had happened over the past few weeks. I had helped my sister through the worst moment of her life. If I could do that, maybe I could help other people too. Maybe that was my purpose, my path, the thing I had been searching for without knowing what I was looking for. I enrolled at the community college to complete my bachelor's degree in social work. I was 29 years old, starting over, joining classes with kids 10 years younger than me. But I didn't care. For the first time in years, I felt like I was moving towards something instead of away from something, like I was building a life instead of just existing in one. Monica was incredibly supportive, which was typical of her even in her darkest time. She found room to be proud of me, to encourage me, to celebrate my decision even while she was going through her own crisis. Monica, I always knew you would do something amazing, Liv. You just needed to believe in yourself. You have such a gift for understanding people, for making them feel heard and seen. You're going to be incredible at this. Liv, I learned from the best. You've shown me what real strength looks like these past few weeks. Monica, we're learning together. We're both becoming who we're supposed to be. It just took a crisis to get us there. 3 months after that phone call at 3 in the morning, Monica moved into her new apartment. It was smaller than the house she had shared with Jake. A simple 2-bedroom in a building that had seen better days, but was clean and safe and affordable. But it was hers, all hers. She had chosen it, signed the lease, made the deposit. She wasn't running anymore or hiding in my studio. She was starting over, building a new life from scratch, creating a home for herself and Emma that had nothing to do with Jake or the marriage that had ended. She decorated Emma's room in soft pinks and yellows, spending an entire day assembling furniture and hanging curtains and arranging stuffed animals and books, creating a space that felt safe and happy and permanent. She hung photos on the walls, pictures of the 3 of us together, Monica and Emma and me, reminders that family doesn't always mean the traditional nuclear picture, that love comes in different forms, and that sometimes the family you need is the family you already have. I helped her move in, carrying boxes up 3 flights of stairs because the building had no elevator, assembling furniture from IKEA while cursing at the nonsensical instructions, painting an accent wall in Emma's room a cheerful yellow that Emma had picked out herself. We ordered pizza and sat on the floor of her new living room because her furniture hadn't been delivered yet, eating straight from the box while Emma played with her toys in the corner, singing to herself, already adjusting to yet another new normal in her young life. Monica, thank you, Liv, for everything, for that day at the restaurant, for these past 3 months, for being here, for being you. Liv, you don't have to thank me. You're my sister. You're my person. This is what family does. Monica, no, I do need to thank you. You did something I couldn't do. You faced him for me. You carried me when I couldn't walk on my own. You let me fall apart in your tiny apartment while you slept on the couch and pretended it was fine. That's not nothing. That's everything. Liv, you would have done the same for me. You would do the same for me. Monica, I would, in a heartbeat. But I hope I never have to. I hope your life is full of joy and love and all the good things mine wasn't. Liv, your life isn't over, Mon. This is just a new chapter, a different story than the one you thought you were writing, but maybe it's a better story. She smiled at me, and for the first time since that terrible night when she called me crying, the smile reached her eyes, really reached them. There was light there again. Hope. Something that looked like it might eventually be happiness. Monica, you're right. It is a new chapter. And you know what? I think it's going to be a good one. Scary as hell, but good. The divorce was finalized 6 months later, a gray Tuesday in March. Monica and Patricia Chen met with Jake and his lawyer in a conference room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Monica told me about it later, every detail, like she needed to say it out loud to make it real. Monica. He cried. Right there in the conference room in front of all the lawyers, he just broke down crying. He said he didn't want to sign, that he couldn't give up on us, that he still loved me, and I felt nothing, Liv. I looked at him crying and I felt absolutely nothing. No anger, no sadness, no regret. Just nothing. Like he was a stranger. Like those 7 years had happened to someone else. Jake didn't contest the divorce. He signed everything Monica's attorney put in front of him with shaking hands and tears streaming down his face. He agreed to her custody terms, giving her primary custody with him having Emma every other weekend and 1 evening per week. He agreed to her financial requests, the division of assets, the child support payments, everything. Patricia Chen told Monica afterward that she had never seen someone so eager to give away so much, so desperate to avoid a fight. Patricia. Either he's genuinely remorseful or he has the best guilty conscience I've ever seen. Or maybe he's just terrified of what I'll do to him in court if he fights you. Either way, you got everything you asked for, and then some. Monica. I don't want to destroy him. I just want it to be over. I just want to move on. And eventually, it was over. Monica got the closure she needed, not from Jake's apologies or his explanations or his promises to change, but from moving forward, from building a life that was hers alone, from discovering who she was when she wasn't someone's wife. She focused on Emma, making sure her daughter felt secure and loved despite the upheaval in her young life. She focused on her career, throwing herself into work with renewed intensity, getting promoted to senior manager 6 months after the divorce was finalized. She focused on herself, going to therapy, joining a gym, taking art classes on weekends, rediscovering hobbies and interests she had let fall away during her marriage. She even started dating again eventually, though she took it extremely slow, cautious in a way she never had been before, protecting her heart like something precious and fragile that she couldn't risk breaking again. As for me, I threw myself into my studies with an intensity I had never felt before. I discovered I loved the coursework, genuinely loved it in a way I had never loved anything academic before. Learning about human behavior and trauma and resilience felt like coming home, like finding the thing I was meant to do all along. I was fascinated by the psychology of grief, by the way people process loss and betrayal, by the mechanisms of healing and recovery. I thought about Monica constantly while reading my textbooks, seeing her journey reflected in the case studies and research papers, understanding her healing through the lens of what I was learning. My professors told me I had a gift for understanding people, for making them feel heard, for holding space for their pain without trying to fix it or minimize it. They said I had the kind of empathy that made someone a good therapist, the kind that came from lived experience, from having witnessed real suffering up close. I thought about that phone call at 3 a.m, about how I had listened to my sister's pain and tried to carry it with her without trying to make it smaller or easier or less than what it was. Maybe that was my gift. Maybe that was what I was meant to do. Help people carry the unbearable until it became bearable again. 1 year after that phone call, almost exactly to the day, Monica and I met for coffee on a Saturday morning at a little cafe near her apartment. Emma was with Jake for the weekend, and Monica was learning to be okay with that, learning to let her daughter have a relationship with her father, even though he had hurt her mother so badly. It was hard letting Emma spend time with the man who had destroyed their family, but Monica knew Emma needed her father. She was trying to put her daughter's needs above her pain, trying to separate Emma's father from Monica's ex-husband, trying to let Jake be a good dad even if he had been a terrible husband. Monica, he's getting married again. She said it casually, stirring her coffee even though she drank it black, never added cream or sugar, was just doing something with her hands. Liv. Jake? To Rebecca? She nodded, looking out the window at the street, at people walking past living their lives. Monica. He told Emma last weekend. Apparently Rebecca has been living with him for a few months now. They're getting married in the spring. Small ceremony, just family. Liv. How do you feel about that? She was quiet for a moment, really thinking about the question, considering her answer carefully like she considered everything now. Monica. Honestly, I feel nothing. I thought I would be angry or hurt or jealous or something. I thought it would make me question whether he ever loved me at all if he could move on so fast. But I just don't care, Liv. He's not my problem anymore. He's not my anything. He's just the man I used to be married to, the father of my child, someone I have to coordinate schedules with and be civil to at school events. That's all he is now. I studied my sister's face carefully, looking for any sign that she was lying or hiding her real feelings, or putting on a brave face. But she seemed genuine, seemed lighter somehow, like she had finally put down a heavy weight she had been carrying. She had healed. Maybe not completely. Maybe she would always carry scars from what happened, thin lines on her heart that would never fully disappear. But she was whole again in the ways that mattered. Monica. You know what's funny? I thought my life was perfect before. I really did. I had the husband, the house, the career, the kid. I checked all the boxes society tells us we're supposed to check. I had the Instagram-worthy life that everyone envied. But I was so focused on maintaining that perfect picture, on keeping everything looking good from the outside, that I didn't realize how empty it all was. Jake and I had stopped really talking years ago, stopped really connecting. We were partners in running a household and raising a child, but we weren't partners in life anymore. We were roommates who had sex occasionally and shared a last name. Liv, you never said anything. I never knew you felt that way. Monica. I didn't know I felt that way until it was gone. Until I was forced to really look at what I had lost and realize that a lot of it wasn't worth keeping anyway. But now, even with everything that happened, even with all the pain and the divorce and the struggle, I'm happier than I was. I'm more myself. I don't have to be the perfect wife anymore. I don't have to perform for anyone. I can just be Monica. Flawed, messy, still figuring it out, Monica. And that's okay. That's more than okay. I reached across the table and took her hand, squeezed it tight. Liv. I like Monica. She's pretty great. Monica. Yeah, she is. We laughed, real laughter that felt good and easy, like we were finding our way back to who we used to be before life got so complicated, before betrayal and divorce and pain changed everything. Monica. How are classes going? Are you surviving your first full semester back? Liv. More than surviving. I'm actually loving it. I'm thinking about specializing in trauma therapy when I get to grad school, helping people who have been through difficult experiences, who need someone to help them find their way through the darkness and back into the light. Monica. That's perfect for you. You helped me find my way through. If you can do that for other people the way you did it for me, you're going to change lives. Liv. We helped each other. That's what sisters do. Looking back on that terrible night 1 year ago, I realized it had changed both of us in ways we never expected, shaped us into different people, better people in some ways. Monica had learned that she was strong enough to survive betrayal and build a new life from nothing. That she didn't need a husband or a perfect picture to be happy. That she was enough all on her own. I had learned that I was capable of more than I thought, that I had the strength to face hard things and the compassion to help others through their pain, that I could be brave when bravery was required. Pretending to be Monica for a day had taught me something important about masks and identity and strength. It taught me that we all wear masks sometimes, that we all pretend to be stronger or more together than we feel. But real strength comes from being willing to be vulnerable, to ask for help, to admit when we can't do it alone. Monica had been strong enough to call me at 3 a.m. and admit she was breaking. I had been strong enough to become her when she couldn't be herself. Together, we had survived something that could have destroyed us, that could have broken us beyond repair. 2 years after that phone call, Monica met someone new. His name was David Park, and he was kind and patient and everything Jake wasn't. He was a middle school science teacher who coached soccer on the weekends and volunteered at an animal shelter. He had an ex-wife and a son from his first marriage, so he understood custody schedules and co-parenting and the complexity of building a relationship when children are involved. He took things slow with Monica, respecting her boundaries and her caution and her fear. He was good with Emma, never trying to replace her father, but being present and caring, playing board games with her and helping with homework and showing up to her school concerts. When Monica told me she was falling in love with him, I could see the fear in her eyes, the terror of opening her heart again, of risking being hurt again. But I could also see hope, fragile but real. Liv, you deserve this, Mon. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to be loved by someone who cherishes you and respects you and would never hurt you the way Jake did. Monica. I'm scared, Liv. I'm so scared. What if he hurts me too? What if I'm making the same mistake again? What if I'm too broken to ever really trust anyone again? Liv. Then we'll deal with it together, just like we did before. But you can't let fear keep you from living. You can't let what Jake did steal your future along with your past. Trust your instincts. Trust yourself. You're so much wiser now than you were before. You know what to look for, what to avoid, what matters. She did trust herself, slowly and carefully. She let David in, inch by inch, test by test, watching for red flags that never came. Watching her open her heart again was beautiful and terrifying and inspiring. But she was different now, changed by what she had been through. She was stronger, more self-aware, less willing to ignore problems or pretend everything was perfect when it wasn't. She had learned that loving someone meant being honest, even when honesty was hard, and that a real partnership meant being able to be vulnerable and still feel safe. She had learned that she would rather be alone than be with someone who made her doubt herself or question her worth. As for me, I finished my bachelor's degree with honors and got accepted to a graduate program for my master's in social work. I started working at a community center, running support groups for women going through divorce and difficult transitions. The first time I sat in that circle of folding chairs, listening to women share their pain and their strength and their journey, I thought about Monica. I thought about every time I sat in that circle, listening to women whose stories echoed my sister's, women who had been betrayed and broken and were trying to figure out how to put themselves back together. I told those women what Monica had taught me, that asking for help isn't weakness, but incredible strength, that you don't have to face your hardest moments alone, that reaching out in your darkest hour is one of the bravest things you can do, that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is admit you can't do something and let someone else carry it for you until you're strong enough to carry it yourself. I told them about vulnerability and strength, about breaking and healing, about the long road from devastation to something that resembled peace. I told them it was okay to not be okay to fall apart, okay to need people. I told them they would survive this, that they would be okay, that one day they would look back and realize they were stronger than they ever knew. And I believed it because I had watched it happen to my sister, watched her transform from broken to whole, from victim to survivor to thriver. 3 years after that phone call at 3 a.m, Monica and David got married. It was a small ceremony in a botanical garden, just close family and friends, nothing like the big traditional wedding she had had with Jake. Emma was the flower girl, beaming with pride in her white dress with tiny flowers embroidered on the hem, taking her role very seriously as she walked down the aisle scattering rose petals. David's son Michael was the ring bearer, nervous and excited,